James Harden is who he is at this point in his career. He's not going to do anything different. Um, he just he doesn't guard anybody, and he has to have the ball in his hands. And with those two things, with the guys they have on that team, it's going to take them a while to figure it out, if they figure it out.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. You can find us on iHeart, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts, except for Apple. Kelly and I will work that out eventually by the end of the year, we hope. Again, I'm your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with me today, perfect timing, our favorite administrator, Robert Abney, is with us today. Robert, how are you today?
Hey, I'm, as always, living the dream, man. Got some interesting stuff to talk about today.
Yes, we do. So in segment one, we're going to talk about the Clippers science experiment, as well as Memphis being upset with officiating. Segment two, Bill Self got a big deal. I need a new agent. And Bronny James is on the men. And in segment three, a lot of questions about officiating in women's basketball as well. And Dr. Adams will give advice to high school student athletes as we get ready for the return of basketball season. But first, before we begin, we want to wish our best to Kelly Oubre Jr. I was a season ticket holder to the Washington Wizards for a lot of years. The financial struggle is real, hashtag no budget productions. And now he plays for the Philadelphia 76ers. He's been released from a Philadelphia hospital where he was treated after being struck by a car near his home. So again, he will be hopefully back this season, but want to send our best wishes to Kelly Oubre Jr. All right, so Robert, the Clippers. We avoided them last week. We want to see them live a little bit. We had some other things to talk about, but now you're starting to see the initial returns of the James Harden trade. So chemistry is a funny thing. You kind of got to go through a process, and it cannot be rushed. And you want to play your best ball at the end of the season, but Robert, when they started this experiment, they were 3-2. Then the Harden trade happened. So in the 3 games with Harden, they're 0-3. They're averaging 105 points a game, while their opponents are averaging 118. That's minus 13. Harden in those games is playing 32 minutes a game, 14.3 points, 5.3 rebounds, no offensive rebounds his first 3 games. 4.7 assists, 1.7 steals. My initial question to you, sir, will they be a top 6 team this year in the West? And if not, will they be the 7 through 10 team headed towards 1 through 6, like Oklahoma City, San Antonio, and Houston? Or will they be the 7 through 10 team that's headed to 11 and 15, like the Lakers will trend in the next 2 years, Golden State and Phoenix? Are they headed the right way? We know all questions will be answered throughout the season, but what are your initial thoughts after the first few games with Harden there?
Well, first of all, as we've said before, it's not like the Clippers didn't know what they were getting. I mean, James Harden is who he is at this point in his career. He's not going to do anything different. He doesn't guard anybody, and he has to have the ball in his hands. And with those two things, with the guys they have on that team, it's going to take them a while to figure it out, if they figure it out at all. And the biggest issue they're going to have, I mean, is eventually I think they're going to figure out the scoring side of it. I think they'll figure it out offensively. He doesn't even pretend to guard people. He doesn't even pretend. So I don't know. Are you going to outscore everybody in the West? I don't think so. I think they're going the wrong direction. I think they'll probably still make the playoffs because they have too much talent not to make the playoffs, but I do think they're going the wrong direction. And I think they're closer to 7 through 10 than they are 1 through 6.
Yeah. And when we get to the end of this segment and kind of go through the top 10, I'm going to keep a special focus on where the Clippers lie. But with that, we want to talk about Memphis. Is it too early to complain about the refs? Memphis Grizzlies coach Taylor Jenkins blasted officials last week after losing to Utah, going on a long rant about the calls they're not getting. Before the rant, he told reporters to saddle up and talked a lot about Jaren Jackson not getting calls and different things like that. So, fans, the rant was too long, but I gave my colleague Robert an opportunity to read the transcript. And as he's reviewing it, I want to tell you that one, at the time of this taping, Memphis is 1-8 overall. They're 0-5 at home. They're 1-3 on the road. And John Moran had a 25-game suspension. And the NBA rules are very clear about these things. Any public criticism of official by NBA players and coaches is subject to discipline, usually a fine. And if you can recall, Monty Williams last year was fined $20,000 for his post-game comments. Jenkins is probably going to get a little more because he kind of went into a little detail. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. Ja's out for 25 games, and Steven Adams is out for the season. So, Robert, you are also an official on the high school and college level. Now that you've had a chance to digest a little bit of this, please share your thoughts on Coach Jenkins's critiques of the officiating.
Well, first, it's his fine's probably going to be more than $20,000 because he went off. I mean, he is clearly frustrated. He is clearly frustrated. And when you're 1-8 and you were in the playoffs last year, I get that. And the biggest thing about this, and people forget this, officials forget this, coaches forget this, players forget this. We're all human. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to get angry and lose our tempers. Yeah, all of that happens. And I would say, based on, the coach's perspective of this incident, his guys are probably fouling more than the other guys. And because he's frustrated, the officials may need to work harder to communicate more effectively with him and with his player. And the rant is not appropriate. What Jaren Jackson said on the floor is probably not appropriate and definitely merited an ejection. But at the same time, when we're officiating, we have to make sure that we're doing a good job of communicating with players and communicating with coaches and doing the best we can to de-escalate those situations so that this doesn't happen. I mean, one thing one thing guys forget at high level, high school ball, college ball, professional basketball, guys forget this all the time. Those guys are coaching for their jobs. Because if they lose too many games, they're going to get fired and they ain't going to have a job anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one thing I always try to remember when I'm officiating games is, these guys put a lot of time and a lot of effort and they put their heart and soul into what they're doing. And we need to make sure that we're respectful of that.
All right.
Some of that may have gotten lost in this process. I don't know.
May have.
but at the same time, coach, you ain't very good right now. And sometimes that's what happens.
All right. So with that, we're going to go to our OCP NBA rankings. And I watch basketball differently moving forward now that we have the advent of strictly for entertainment purposes only. So I do many bets throughout the week. It's just money line. I call it money line madness. And my best team right now here, my top 10, Denver, 76ers, Boston, Dallas, Minnesota, Indiana, Golden State, Houston. Ime can coach, fans. I don't know what about his personal life, but that guy can coach basketball and he's got young athletes. Atlanta and the Bucks. Notice the Clippers are not in my top 10 right now, along with a lot of other good teams that as the season goes on, they're going to be in there, kind of like Georgia football. But that's the top 10. And games of the week, Friday, November 17th for the NBA Cup. 76ers are playing the Hawks. Denver's playing New Orleans. And Zion's playing, Robert. Zion's playing. Keep our fingers crossed. And Houston are playing the Clippers. That is the one game I hope is televised because Houston's doing a good job this year. Ime's putting in his system, and the Clippers have got to get better. So any final thoughts this week on the NBA, sir? Anybody catch your eye? Anybody? I know Victor's caught your eye, but anybody else making you pause, if you will, on SportsCenter?
So did you see it was Friday evening and the Clippers were getting drummed by the Mavericks, and the Lakers and the Suns were playing, I think, and both of them had these floors.
Yes, the fancy floor for the in-season tournament. Yes.
Those were awful.
You're old, Robert.
I am, you know what? I am old. Those were terrible.
That's how you know it's a game. That's how you know it's a play-in game. Not play-in. That's how you know it's an NBA Cup game because everybody's got, except in Dallas, because the floor doesn't work. But and that's a shoot. But yeah, man, they're trying to get advertisers for this. They're trying to pawn this off. And last week we told our fans that the NBA rights are coming up and everything is for sale. Oh,
yes, I'm old. Yes, get off my lawn. Those were
look like throw up is what somebody told me.
Those were that is some of the ugliest stuff I've ever seen in my life. That was absolutely atrocious. And they should be ashamed of themselves. That's all I have to say for them.
All right, Forrest. All right. So, fans, when we get back, that's all I got to say about that. When we get back, we're going to talk Bill Self's contract, and we're going to talk about the hopeful return of Bronny James this college season. We'll be right back on the iCoaches podcast.
The CKA SAVE Project is an industry leader in advocating for student-athlete, academic, and athletic needs. Through academic and athletic enrichment, the CKA SAVE Project is on the forefront of the issues facing 21st century student-athletes. As student-athletes continue to struggle to find a better balance between academic and athletic success, the CKA SAVE Project offers academic and athletic services to support student-athlete academic success, including academic skills assessment, academic and athletic consulting, academic monitoring, academic and athletic workshops. For more information or to schedule a free consultation, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast. In segment 2, I got to get Bill Self's agent. So Bill Self just signed an amended 5-year rolling contract last week that makes him the highest paid coach in college basketball. And if you recall, he actually got a new deal, I think, prior to the season. So he's supposed to make approximately $53 million over the next 5 years, according to his amended contract. He's going to be paid more than $13 million in the contract's first year. And Calipari at Kentucky, John Calipari, is paid $8.5 million. Self's deal is believed to be the most lucrative deal ever for a basketball coach at a public university. Public university, Robert.
Mm-hmm.
So here's some of the details. At the conclusion of each year, another year is added to the deal. Self will earn a one-time $5 million retention bonus if he serves out the first 5 years of the contract. Self deal also includes a provision in his contract that allows the renegotiation of terms following the 25-26 season. He's 60. He has won 773 games. Remember, a couple of games were taken away. 2 national championships, 20 conference championships. He's in the Naismith Hall of Fame. The Jayhawks has won 498 games since the start of the 2006-2007 season. They've been a top 4 seed in every NCAA tournament since 2001 season. He sits 415 wins behind Coach K. And he's 27 wins away from joining the 800 win club. Should they make a regular year, he should get that this year. And it was April 2021 that he signed that lifetime deal. But of course, just last month, the Independent Resolution Panel, the IRP, which no longer exists, a judicial board as a part of the Independent Accountability Resolution process, ruled that the program would have to vacate 15 of its wins from 2017-2018, and the vacated wins includes removing any formal acknowledgement of the 2018 Final Four appearance. Robert, your thoughts on Bill Self getting locked up for a lifetime by the Kansas Jayhawks?
Well, two things. Number one, I'm pretty sure there's not anything in his contract that says he has to give money back if there's any NCAA violations. And the other is, I mean, good for him and well done by his agent, as you said, but where was he going to go? Where was he going to go? What job in the country is better for men's basketball than Kansas? Where was he going to go? So good on him. And, we say all the time, hey, if people going to pay you, go get your money.
Go get it. Go get the bag. Absolutely.
But I'm not sure why they felt like they had to do that, because there's nowhere he's going to go.
Yeah. And North Carolina did it with Hubert Davis early, I thought. And where was Hubert going to go? And Duke, we talked about maybe last week or the week before, doing it with John Shire. And again, where was he going? It's Duke. It's Carolina. It's Kansas. So, all right. Not my money. But yes.
I mean,
congratulations to you.
Yeah, clearly they felt like they needed to do it for some reason, but I don't know where he would be going that they felt like they had to do that.
Yeah, I don't think Wichita State was going to do anything
about it. I mean, he's not getting overtures from Cleveland State, not talking Cleveland State or anything, but I mean, he's not going anywhere. Where's he going to go?
All right, so some good news on the healing front. At USC, the son of NBA superstar LeBron James didn't play in the season opener, but he is making good progress. And LeBron James told reporters last week that Bronny's on the up and up, and his oldest son is scheduled for a checkup later this month. And if all goes well, he could return to practice. So if you recall, this past summer, there was a health scare, and he's getting better, which is the most important thing for Get Basketball. And he had a congenital heart defect or something of that nature that's being looked at. But I want to talk about Bronny as a player. He's a role player, fans, and that's okay. He's a complimentary guy with a high basketball IQ, and USC has a very talented roster. So if he can get back, Robert, let's say January at the start of conference play, he can get some reps in there, and then they can get into March and be really dangerous, because I think Coach Adams thinks once you get about 10 to 15 games in you, yeah, let's go. Let's play. We figured out how to best do it. So, again, we're hoping that he's able to come back, and we'll check out some West Coast basketball. Finally, in our men's college basketball segment, there's no top five this week. I'm doing a lot of money line madness with college basketball too. But Robert, there's been some early season upsets, and I want us to remind our fans that they're common and there's nothing to scream about. So can you share your thoughts on all of Arizona upset Duke, and a lot of the smaller schools are beating a lot of the bigger schools. Robert, any thoughts? Because it's just a reminder that there's parity in men's basketball, and that's all that's saying. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I agree 100% with you. I mean, I mean, to me, that's what makes it fun. I love it when the little guys come in and hit 17 threes and beat the big guys, because that's really what it
And
takes.
they get money for
Yeah,
it.
and they get paid because it was a buy game. I mean, that's really what it takes. These guys come in, they get hot, they make some shots. Coach, the coach of the big school, is trying, extending the rotation, figuring out who can help them, all that stuff. I mean, is it a little embarrassing? Sure, I guess, but that nothing that happens now matters in March. Nothing. None of it. Doesn't matter for conference seedings. I don't think they really even pay attention to it when it
Remember,
comes
it's the
to the
net
NCAA
ranking.
tournament.
So outside of the net rankings, it might bump up something, but it actually may help the bigger team if that smaller team wins its conference. See, they're a pretty good team.
Yeah,
Again,
but the vast majority of this matters not a bit. People are figuring out the schools that expect to be in the NCAA tournament every year. They're figuring out what they're doing. They're figuring out what their rotation looks like, and doesn't matter.
yeah.
Doesn't
So,
matter.
so fans, when we get back in segment 3, there was some complaining about officiating in the women's national championship game. A report has come out. Can't wait to get Robert's thoughts on it. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Fallon Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams, just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Hot Coaches Podcast. And in segment 3, let's talk some more about officiating. And this time, we want to talk about LSU's national championship win over Iowa at the end of last season. And it's being remembered in part for its controversial officiating. We have our lead official here. So a review of the game by the NCAA and an independent review provided to the Associated Press concluded, Robert, that the refereeing did not meet expectations. The NCAA had planned a review of tournament officials after the 2024 championship concludes in April, but the process was sped up a year after criticism of LSU's Iowa's game. The NCAA Vice President for Women's Basketball, Lynn Holzman, said the officials were graded on the accuracy of their calls and that the overall accuracy number fell short. In the championship game itself, we typically have a performance that is 91% historically, and in that game, the percentage of correct calls was about 88%. The NCAA did not provide the review or details to the AP, but an independent review by an official who did not participate in the game found that the percentage of calls was much lower than 88%. Out-of-bound violation was not included as part of the independent analysis. According to the independent review, mistakes made during the game included a foul called on Angel Reese at the end of the first quarter. That was her second of the game. And in the third quarter, 2 offensive fouls were missed, one by each team. Both resulted in video monitor reviews, but neither ended up penalizing the offensive player. Robert, before we talk about what happens moving forward, what are your thoughts on this panel's findings, if you will?
I don't remember who the crew was for that game. I do know that it is, the three women who called that game are well respected, and they are considered among the top 10 women's officials in the country, and that's why they were working that game. I think they would tell you that they were not happy with their performance in that game. I remember watching that game, and there was definitely some stuff going on that they missed. And again, that happens, because we're all human, we all miss stuff. You don't want to do it on that stage because of how big the stage is and was, because of, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and all the stuff that Iowa just beating South Carolina and all that stuff coming into the game. I mean, that's a huge stage for women's basketball, huge. And I don't know any of those three, but I would tell you that, I guarantee you they were not happy with their performance. And the independent review probably didn't say anything that they didn't say themselves, because the other thing about officiating is, I mean, there is nobody harder on me when I go back and review a game than me. Nobody. And I watch, and I guarantee you they watch far more than I do. I watch a lot of film, and they watch far more film than I do. I guarantee it. And I will spend 2 hours watching 5 minutes of game tape. Where's my positioning? Where are my eyes? Where are my partner's eyes? What should I be looking at on this play? If there's a call that, if there's a play that's marked, that's questionable. Okay, what happened? Where am I supposed to be? How can I see that play better so that I have where can I move so that I have a better angle to better see that play? And I'll go through whole games doing that, and it takes a while, and I'll go back and watch it, 3 or 4 times. And I guarantee you that's what happened with this game, and not just by them, but it's a process. And and there is no, there is no watching the film and saying, oh, well, I got that one right.
No, that's not how we do
that. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you got it right. And truthfully, it doesn't really matter if you got it wrong, because it's not like you can go back and fix it. Look at it, say, okay, what happened? Where was I? Where was I supposed to be? Where were my partners? Where were they supposed to be? What could we have done to get the play correct? Okay. And so, I mean, you're going to talk about, let's see what they're doing moving forward.
All right. So moving forward, here are the recommendations. Better education and training for the NCAA Women's Basketball Committee and Subcommittee on Officiatings, selecting crews, and assigning the referee and crew chiefs. Also, the NCAA updated its rubric over the summer, and one change, had it been in place, would have affected the title game. Players now will no longer be charged with a technical for certain delay of game violations, like the one given to Caitlin Clark. And even you had said at that time, what have you. And then we want to talk about refs by the numbers. Okay. In that review, it was noted about the NCAA tournament and that individuals conference govern their own officials. There are about 762 Division I officials in women's basketball this coming season, and for the upcoming NCAA tournament, there will once again be 116 of them working along with 5 alternates, which is about 16% overall. And it's something you've mentioned to me privately, that these referees are working very hard to be a part of that. So everybody's being evaluated. An additional 94 officials will be selected for the inaugural Women's Basketball Invitation Tournament. This will allow the opportunity for more officials to gain postseason experience. You have to go through it, and you have to have these opportunities. In the past, some of the NCAA tournament officials would also work WNIT games. Last year was the first time the NCAA had an all-female crew for Final Four games, and last year was the first time it had all-women crews for semifinals and final games. So before we talk about knocking it off in terms of your behavior on the court, any thoughts on that, Robert?
No, I mean I really like especially the idea of the WNIT, that they're going to use a separate crew of officials, because it really isn't the first time you get a postseason game. It's such a rush, but it's different. It's very different, because the fact that the losing team goes home changes the intensity of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it's a postseason game means that more attention is being paid to it, and that changes the intensity of the game. And there's no way to prepare for that other than doing it. And so I think that that's a great idea on their part, to make sure that their crews are being better prepared for postseason play.
Yeah. And one point of emphasis, fans, we want to say, and you're going to get this on the Odd Coaches podcast. I don't know of a lot of podcasts going into detail about officiating, but one of the points of emphasis this year will be sportsmanship and the coaches box, because the argument coaches make is that during the year, we're going to call all of this stuff, but in the postseason, we're not. So now we're going to see if this is going to continue to be a point of emphasis. Before we close this week, we want to welcome back Aaliyah Gales to the USC basketball team. She was shot multiple times at a house party in 2022. She's finally back on the court. She suffered fractures in all 4 of her limbs in an April 22 shooting in North Las Vegas, and we are so happy to have her back on the court, and it's going to make me watch USC basketball. No top 5 again this week. And again, just like we said in segment 2, no stress on the early upsets. But as I close out today, high school basketball returns. Even our own Point 5 is trying out for his freshman team, and we wish him and everybody good luck. But this is a great opportunity for me to talk to high school student athletes about how I evaluated as a coach. So here's Dr. Adams' Super 6 evaluation. And once I'm done, I would love for Robert to give me his thoughts on it. There's 6 things I look for when I am scouting players. 1, passing. I'm looking for players to take pride in their passing and not just give away possessions, because possessions are precious on that college level. As Robert eloquently said, hey, people are playing for their jobs, and you can't just willy-nilly throw the ball away. 2, your ability to shoot. Can you consistently make shots? I need you to be a shot maker, not a shot taker. Don't just take shots. I need you to make shots. 3, dribbling. And I'm talking rule of 3 dribbles in terms of dribbling with a purpose and high efficiency, not just hanging out on the perimeter, testing the air in the ball. Because when you look at playoff basketball, postseason basketball, you rarely see the 20-minute dribble and then shot. Okay. And we talked about that with James Harden having to have the ball in his hands, and how's that worked out in the postseason. 4, your ability to play defense without help. You will make every team you try out for if you can guard the other team's best scorer without help. You'll make it. Okay. There's no coach going to cut you if you stop the other team's best players one-on-one without help. 5, your ability to hit free throws, because that's called closing out games. You make your free throws consistently, and then at the end of the games, that's how you avoid the foul things. If you're standing up making shots on the free throw line, man, the game's over. Okay, and I had the pleasure of coaching a guy who actually led the NCAA Division III in free throw shooting. Robert, he was like 95.9%, and we put him in the game at the end. And go ahead, do the foul thing. I'm grabbing to you, knock it down, knock it down, knock it down, knock it down. And then the last thing is 6, coachability. The best players I've ever worked with all had the same thing in common. They allowed you to coach them. They allowed you to make them uncomfortable. That's the best compliment I'll give a guy like Fowler and Campbell. The best compliment I'll give a guy like Jamal Wise, who are now in coaching, is that they let you coach them and let you make them be uncomfortable. Any thoughts on my Super 6 evaluation, Robert, before we wrap up?
The only thing I would add is actually an intangible, which is being a good teammate. What do you, how do you celebrate when others are successful? How do you react when there's adversity? What do you do to help your teammates through adversity? When you get a good pass from somebody, do you, and
point.
Ask
yes.
it, do you acknowledge that? When one of your teammates is on the floor, do you go over and help them up? All of that kind of stuff. That's important. That tells me a lot about you as a player and as a person.
That's awesome. All right. So fans, on behalf of our favorite administrator, Robert Abney, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast. And we'll see you on the sidelines. Until next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach FRANCHIZE. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.